Welcome back to the Wrestle Chat podcast here on Wrestle Chat TV. Hey, it's the AntMan, your host, and joined here with my buddy Michael Glavin for a special Wrestle Chat podcast today, because we're going to be running down the card for the biggest wrestling event in history. AEW All In, live from Wembley Stadium, coming up tomorrow on pay-per-view. Michael, is it starting to feel like a big wrestling pay-per-view in history yet?
Yes, but there's one thing that we have to call out. I mean, we have to remember WrestleMania 33 with 136,000 people in attendance.
I forgot about that, yeah.
So, I mean, the second biggest wrestling event, but no, I kid. But no, this is really shaping up to be just such a fueled week. If you're a true professional wrestling fan and not just the casual fly-by-night, you feel that anticipation and you feel the kind of the monumental nature that is this event. When you think that literally just single-digit years ago, that this was a fly-by-night one-off event that very slowly turned into an established company. It is amazing to think that what is happening today is actually going to happen. So yes, tons of excitement, tons of buzz, just a great day to be a wrestling fan.
It was an event simply to prove Dave Meltzer wrong. That was literally the only reason these guys got together and did it, Cody and the Bucks, for the very first All In. Well, the card is certainly stacked, and we'll give you our take on some of the biggest matches, but more importantly, we want to know what you think. So be sure to chime in on each of these bouts. Comment on this video and let us know. Unlike many other shows, we actually reply to your comments, so let us know what you think. We've got a lot to get to, so let's get things going here, starting with the 0 Hour. This is AEW's pre-show, and it's free. You can actually watch it through many different channels, such as Facebook. You can watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on Twitter or X or whatever it's called today. But we're going to see Better Than You, Baby, AEW champ MJF and Adam Cole together as a tag team take on the Ring of Honor tag champs, Aussie Open, and it's for the titles. We've seen on the past few Dynamites what appears to be cracks in the friendship of Max and Cole. Of course, they're going to be facing each other later in the card. Do these two hold it together long enough to take those tag titles from Aussie Open? And what does this match do to their main event match at the end of the night, Michael?
I think there's a couple ways that it could go. First of all, I think there's more story to be told with the tag titles and the main event after the show is over. And so I do think that they can hold it together because that's the easy part. Holding it together for one day is the easy part. Clinching those tag titles, and whether MJF takes it home or Adam Cole takes it home, there's a lot to be unpacked there as tag team champions no matter what happens. And so I'm rooting for them to pick up those tag titles, and I'm excited to see where that story goes over the coming weeks. But yeah, I think you can hold it together for a day.
On Dynamite, we saw Christian Cage replace AR Fox in the coffin match. So Christian is the new tag partner for Swerve Strickland, taking on Darby Allin and Sting. Many talking about this being possibly Sting's last match. No doubt, an iconic career. Would it be poetic for this icon to go out in front of the largest crowd in wrestling history?
Oh, absolutely. I said a couple weeks ago, Sting has made incredible decisions for himself throughout his career. Does he need to be done right now? Maybe not. Is it his last show? Maybe not. There is a certain amount of poetry that it becomes when you can go out on such a grand stage like this, especially in such a cool special match. But at the end of the day, we have to trust that Sting knows what's best for him in his career, and as long as he's not taking 20-foot dives off of a ladder onto tables, I think we could get him for at least a couple more, but that just remains to be seen at this point.
Stop trying to keep up with Darby. Hey, speaking of Christian, there's a lot of buzz surrounding his legendary WWE partner, Edge. We've talked about it. Actually, it was on last week's Wrestle Chat podcast. Is Edge done with WWE? Does Edge show up in AEW? And if so, does it happen at All In? Realistically, you think?
I could probably talk for an hour just on this topic because there are so many curious and interesting threads that go through this entire story at large. First of all, even if he was asking for the moon, it is shocking with such high press that Edge has had over the last year or two that WWE wouldn't keep him. If nothing else, I mean, my God, they pay Undertaker like $1 million a year just to not do anything else. And so the fact that you wouldn't do that with Edge is already shocking in and of itself. Then you say, well, how many matches does Edge realistically have left in him? He's obviously in fantastic shape. He looks great in the ring, but at the same time, he's coming from a decade of ring rust. Not only that, you're still surgically repaired, and at some point that is going to wear on you. Furthermore, then you have, if Edge thinks anything like me, which I'm not going to pretend like that is, you spent the entirety of your career in one company. And do you really want to shift that viewpoint of your career at large by stepping into another company? Because you could be judged by the most recent things that have been seen or done by you. And is that smart for you as someone who doesn't have, as much time in front of you as was behind you? But then you flip to the other side of it, and man, there's a lot of stories that could be told in AEW with a lot of the people that are over there and the relationships that he has. And so I've completely lost sight of the original question at this point, but I can tell you, this is a very interesting situation that we need to keep our eyes on and keep our fingers on the pulse of, because this stands to be a huge shifting point if Edge were to step into AEW, and what that does to quite a few storylines. Potentially the main event picture, potentially the tag team picture with Christian again. I'd have to believe that those guys want to do something together. There's a lot that is affected by the presence or the absence of Edge in AEW, and it's something we just got to keep an eye on that we'll probably figure out pretty quick.
I think what it was, he asked for a board seat on the new company. Now, it wasn't going to happen for Triple H. It wasn't going to happen for him. No. The original question was, do you see Edge coming to AEW, and if so, realistically, is it at All In? I want to know from you. Be sure to chime in with your thoughts. Let us know if you think Edge pops up on All In this Sunday. And what's this match mean for Sting's future? Let us know in the comments of this video. A lot more to get to, so moving on to the Stadium Stampede. Just for one reason, it's nice that they coupled this real-life match to coincide with the DLC for AEW Fight Forever video game, where now you can play the Stadium Stampede match. If you have that game, if you haven't got it, grab it, and you can get that as well. In past Stadium Stampede matches, we've seen them happen, in empty stadiums. How's this one going to be different, battling all over a fully packed Wembley Stadium, Michael?
Fans in attendance is always better. As fun as it is to see an empty arena, excuse me, and being hit with trash cans and rolling over counters in the concourse and boiler rooms and whatever you seem to find.
Yeah.
It's always better to have fans in attendance, and boy, there's a lot of space to move about in Wembley Stadium, and so it's going to be fun to see. I think fans in attendance is always better, and it's going to be a really, really fun match.
For the AEW tag straps, we're going to see the champs FTR battle their arch nemesis, the Young Bucks. I think in the modern era of pro wrestling, both of these teams are on equal playing field, but in very rare air, with the likes of like the Usos and New Day. So I have no doubt this tag match is going to live up and possibly eclipse many other prominent matches that are on the card. But do you see any of Wheeler's real life legal drama playing into the decision who walks out of Wembley with the AEW tag titles, Michael?
I don't think we're ever going to know, but if it was me, I would probably have to say it does affect it. We talked last week about how even though that AEW is catered to more purist wrestling fans of a slightly older age versus, say, WWE, you're still paying these guys a lot of money to represent your company. And having a mugshot floating out around there is not the best way to represent a company. And truth be told, we don't know the details of what happened. Obviously, the situation as we know it sounds a little rowdy, but it's not the worst thing that you could be accused of, but it's not exactly the best thing either.
No, definitely.
But no, I think that there could be some decisions made based on that real life situation, and we'll see how it all shakes out.
Yeah, I think you do. I think you do take the straps off them. You have control of it. Do it. If something happens, then you don't have to strip them of titles later. If nothing happens, you have a story from AEW All In that you can continue telling, and they can get them back. Let us know what you think. Who you think will leave All In with the AEW tag titles when this match is done. Chime in, comment on this video with your predictions throughout this entire episode. Now, no title on the line here, just a legacy feud. The Ocho, Chris Jericho, is going to battle it out with Will Ospreay. Chris says he's to credit with Will even wrestling today. Ospreay was such a loose cannon that Chris called him up one day and told him that he needed to settle down or he'd end up confined to a wheelchair. Will's from here. We're All In is. His family and his friends are going to be in the front row for this match. How important do you think it is for Ospreay to have his arm raised at the end of this fight?
I think for anyone on this card, it's important to have their hand raised because this is history.
True.
I mean, and then you factor in more, like we've been talking about the last few weeks, about how much legacy and how amazing these two guys are. This is a battle to see who's the best. Yeah. And some would say Chris Jericho's the best. Some would say Will Ospreay's the best. But it's very important. Not only do you have a hometown crowd, but this is the first. This is the first big event for AEW. Yeah. And you want to come out on top. And so I say the stakes are equal for both guys, and they're just going to have to fight, claw, and see who's the better man.
There's more matches on this show, many more, and perceivably some surprises still to come for AEW's All In coming up tomorrow on pay-per-view. Let's jump over to the ladies' fatal four-way for the AEW women's title. It's the only women's match on the card, and I'm sure that'll be focused drama for many. But Saraya versus Toni Storm versus Dr. Britt Baker versus the AEW Women's Champ Hikaru Shida. For me, the star and the future of this division, I think, is Britt Baker. Many would argue that it's Toni Storm, especially for the future part. But you can never rule out what Saraya brings to this table in this match. I mean, she has just a great career, and Shida is the champ for a reason. So the further I go along in the names as I run these down, the more I feel this is really anyone's match. What's your thought here, Michael?
I think that at first glance, not because of gender or anything, but just with a card that is so full that this has the potential to be looked over. But I actually believe this has the potential to be the most surprising match on the card. Because as you pointed out, you have so much talent packed into this match that I think there's some great things that can happen here. Who comes out on top in such a just talent-filled match? Your guess is as good as mine, especially in a fatal four-way. I mean, you could spend all day arguing about why one person should win over the other. The best part about fatal four-way matches is they're very unpredictable, but what I believe is that this is going to be the sleeper match on the card, and it's going to be one to watch.
Hey, I left these two for last for a reason. I'm going to start with CM Punk versus Samoa Joe. And on Collision a week ago, Joe was to have a match with someone called the Golden Vampire, only to get jumped, and the guy using all of CM Punk's moves. Do we find out the Golden Vampire was indeed CM Punk? Many claim that was a nod to Edge. Edge and Christian once were disguised as the Conquistadors, gold outfits, golden masks, and we all know Edge and Christian were once a part of the Brood, a group of bloodthirsty vampires. Is it a stretch to think that Punk was sharing a hint and pointing at Edge with this character?
I don't think anything in professional wrestling is a stretch. So I'm going to start by saying that. I think I think when you're in the business like that, if you have the ability to make the fans wonder whether it's valid or not, go for it. And so I do think it was a nod to Edge there. But I would probably guess to say that it was probably a little premature before we knew that there was any possibility to him coming or not. But nonetheless, it's what makes professional wrestling fun. And speaking to CM Punk and Joe, they have not let us down yet at any time in history, and I believe it's going to be another great match from them as well.
What I do think is interesting and hopefully a part of the storytelling moving forward, this one right here is for the Real World Championship, according to Punk. But the following match is the main event, and it's for the AEW Championship. It's the same title, mostly, except with a spray-painted X in the middle of CM Punk's. First, do you see the AEW Championship and the Real World Championship coming to a head at All In, or do you think that's saved for after?
You know, I'm not sure. We've talked in recent weeks how it feels a little strange that this situation has not been addressed.
Yep.
And I do believe that it would be great to see some overlap both directions. I think it would be super for someone like MJF to get involved in the Punk Joe match, and then it would be great for CM Punk to come in and interfere in the MJF Adam Cole match. I think starting that with a just complete collision, no pun intended, of these champions would be fantastic. But I would have to believe whether it starts and ends here or it's just the start for weeks to come, I believe that we're going to see these two champions collide at this event in some form or another, and watch it, in the best of ways, spiral out of control in the coming weeks.
Oh, we're going to see the same guys who started the entire show end the show as well, when MJF and Adam Cole go head-to-head for the AEW title. How much do you see what happens in a 0-hour tag match having a play here in the main event at the end of All In?
No matter what it is at the 0 hour, it is going to directly affect not only the entirety of the show, but also the main event, even if they perfectly get along in the 0 hour. I mean, whatever happens is going to directly correlate to later on in the show. And so I believe that in some weird way, it's going to be one long match, that shows the ups and downs and the dynamic of this relationship that they have. And in some form or another, I'd have to believe that we're going to start seeing some things disintegrate, because you can't have matches like this without leaving some stuff on the line and out there. So it's just going to be cool and well done to the writers, to the people that are booking the show, to allow us to go on that ride for several hours and to wonder and anticipate. It's just going to be a fun day to be a wrestling fan.
All right. It's time to actually make a prediction then, Michael. Who's coming out on top of the main event of All In?
I believe that, speaking more to the future, this is absolutely zero shade to Adam Cole, but I think MJF CM Punk is more money. And so I'm going to say that whether dirty, clean, some mixture of both, I think MJF is going to walk out as the AEW champion, and that will take us into a Punk MJF feud.
We did not talk about this before we started, and that's my prediction as well. I think that it was because CM Punk called out MJF. You're not the real champ. I'm the real champ. Nobody ever beat me for this. I think that you have to. You can't leave that and not have some payoff somewhere. And it doesn't have to be immediate. I'm fine with that. But I do think you've got to have a call back to it, and there has to be some finality to that as well. So my prediction, too, is that MJF takes home his Triple B, keeps that in a feud, starts with CM Punk again. We want to know what you think, too. Chime in on this video. Hit the thumbs up if you like the video and want to see more. And if you haven't yet, make sure you hit subscribe. Looking forward to chatting during All In. Follow me on Twitter. I'm at the AntMan, TheAntMan, and follow us at Wrestle Chat Podcast. We'll be tweeting along during the show as well. And the next time that we're going to see you is Tuesday for the Raw review. For Michael Glavin, I'm the AntMan, and we'll see you here on Wrestle Chat TV then.